The slave market on planet Grixen was not a kind place. Screams filled the air, mixed with the roars of alien traders and the sharp clink of metal coins. Creatures from across the galaxy gathered here to buy and sell lives like property. It smelled of blood, sweat, and something worse, fear. In the center of it all stood a human boy. He looked around 19, thin but strong, dirty but proud. His hands were tied, but his eyes still had fire. The auctioneer, a slimy green alien with 4 eyes, shouted loudly, "Fresh human male. Rare, untouched, perfect for labor or other needs." The crowd didn't move. Humans were weak in alien eyes, just another species from a dying blue world. No one wanted him. The boy's name was Riven, but no one cared to them. He was just a number, a body, a tool. Still, he didn't look afraid. He stared straight ahead, jaw tight, refusing to show pain. Then the space around the market changed. A large shadow passed over the area as a royal ship landed nearby. The guards stepped out first, tall, armored beings with glowing eyes, and behind them, she appeared. The alien queen. Her name was Valzari, ruler of the Forgotten Star Empire of Zorenth. She walked slowly, every step silent and full of power. Her skin was silver blue, and her long gown shimmered like starlight. The crowd fell silent, even. The auctioneer stuttered, "Q Queen Valzari, it is an honor. Are you here to buy a slave?" She said nothing at first. Her sharp eyes scanned the stage, until they locked onto Riven. She stepped closer, her voice calm. "I want the human." Gasps filled the air. The auctioneer blinked, confused. "This one? He's weak. I will pay triple the starting price," she said without blinking. A guard handed over a glowing crystal chip. The auctioneer quickly accepted. "Sold. To the Queen of Zorenth." Riven was unchained and pushed toward her. He stood straight, looking her in the eyes. "You just bought me like a piece of meat," he said, voice steady. Valzari raised one eyebrow. "Would you rather I left?" "You here?" He didn't answer. Her guards escorted him to the ship, a dark, sleek craft shaped like a dagger in space. The doors closed behind them, cutting off the noise of the market. Inside the ship, it was quiet, too quiet. Riven expected to be thrown into a cage, but instead, he was led to a clean room with soft lights and a bed. No chains, no guards, just silence. A screen on the wall lit up. Valzari's face appeared. "You will remain here until I speak with you again," she said. "Try not to break anything." Then the screen went dark. Riven sat on the bed, confused. This wasn't normal. No beatings, no orders, no threats. Why did she buy him? What did she want? Later that night, Riven couldn't sleep. The room felt alive, like it was watching him. He stood and walked toward the corner, where he noticed a dark panel. He touched it, and the wall blinked open slightly, revealing a hallway. He stepped into the hallway, bare feet silent on the cold metal floor. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing faintly blue. He followed them, curious and cautious. Then he heard it. A sound like breathing, but not human. Something was behind one of the doors. He moved closer, heart pounding. The door slid open slowly on its own. Inside was a chamber filled with floating lights and glowing wires. And in the center, something moved. Not a person, something bigger. Something ancient. He froze. The thing turned slightly, as if it sensed him. Suddenly, the hallway lights brightened, and a loud voice echoed through the walls. "Return to your room," said the ship's AI. "This area is forbidden." Riven ran back, heart racing. He reached his room and sat on the bed, breathing hard. What was that thing? And why was he brought here? The screen lit up again. Valzari looked at him, her eyes sharper than before. "You are curious, human," she said. "But be careful, curiosity can kill." Riven looked into the camera. Not blinking. "I want answers," he said. Valzari smiled, slowly. "And you will get them," she whispered. "In time." The screen went dark again, and Riven sat in the silent room, knowing one thing for sure. This was no ordinary queen, and he was no ordinary slave. Something bigger was waiting, something he couldn't yet understand. But it had already begun. She didn't buy him for work. Riven woke up to music. Not the kind from Earth, but something slow and strange, like the hum of stars. Soft lights moved across the walls of his room, dancing like waves. For a moment, he forgot he was on a ship, bought by an alien queen. Then, the door slid open. 2 silent guards stood outside. One nodded. "She wants to see you. No chains." No weapons, just a command, and the path was clear. Riven followed them down a wide hallway, lined with silver vines pulsing with blue light. Everything about this ship felt alive, like it could breathe. The guards stopped before a tall golden door. It opened without a sound inside. Queen Valzari stood in front of a large window. Outside, stars moved like fireflies, and a nearby moon glowed with green light. She didn't turn around. Instead, she spoke softly. "Do you know why I bought you?" Riven crossed his arms. "I was hoping you'd tell me." She turned to face him, her expression calm but unreadable. "Most humans are afraid," she said. "You're not." He looked her in the eye. "Fear doesn't help when you're already in a cage." Valzari walked closer, slowly. "Interesting answer," she said. "But you are not in a cage now." Riven looked around the grand room. "Feels like one." She tilted her head, curious. "Do you want to go back to that market?" "No," he replied quickly. "Then maybe this is better," she said with a faint smile. She motioned toward a table with 2 chairs. They sat, facing each other. Between them was a drink thick and glowing gold. "Drink," she said. Riven didn't move. "What is it?" "A truth serum," she said. Riven raised an eyebrow. "You're serious?" She laughed softly. "No, it's just fruit from my homeworld." Still, he didn't drink. Valzari leaned forward. "You're careful, smart, stubborn," she said. "That's why you're alive." Riven frowned. "What do you want from Emmy?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she studied him, as if reading a book no one else could understand. "My people once ruled hundreds of systems," she said. "We had science, beauty, and long life, but we forgot something." "Which is?" Riven asked. She stood and walked to a glowing orb near the wall. It floated, spinning slowly. Inside it, shapes formed images of humans. Earth cities, old battles. "Humans have something we lost long ago," she said. "Chaos, passion, soul." Riven narrowed his eyes. "You bought me because I am passionate?" "No," she said, walking back to him. "I bought you because you're human, and I need to understand what that really means." He stood too, unsure whether to feel honored or trapped. "I'm not a science project." Valzari stepped closer. "No, you're something rarer, a spark, something even I can't explain yet." Suddenly, the room grew cold, lights dimmed, and the ship shook slightly. Alarms whispered from the walls. Riven looked around. "What was that?" Valzari's face changed. "Someone doesn't want you alive." Before he could speak, the wall behind them opened, and a blinding light shot through. A figure stepped in, another alien. Thin, fast and armed, the guards reacted too slowly. Riven grabbed the chair and swung it hard. The attacker fell, stunned. Valzari raised her hand, and the attacker was pulled off the floor by invisible force. Her eyes glowed purple. "This is your first test," she said coldly. "Survival." Riven looked at the queen, breathing hard. "You knew this would happen?" "I suspected," she said. "If you want to live, you must learn quickly." The guards dragged the attacker away. Riven stared at the queen. "You're playing games." She stepped closer, her voice lower. "No, I'm offering you a deal." "What kind of deal?" "You stay on this ship," she said. "You answer my questions, live in comfort, and help me understand what makes humans so different. And if I say no?" She looked out the window. "You return to the market, or worse." Silence filled the room. Then Riven spoke. "All right," he said. "But I want something too." Valzari turned, surprised. "Go on, I want the truth," he said. "No lies, no tricks, no half answers." The queen smiled, not with kindness, but with something older. "Truth," she said softly. "That's dangerous but fair." They stood in silence, outside. The stars moved slowly, as if watching. The ship whispered again, but this time it felt calm. Riven knew his life had changed forever. He wasn't a slave anymore. He was part of something bigger, something strange and possibly deadly. But he had made a deal, and there was no turning back now. The queen, once more than obedience, it started with a dream. Riven stood alone in a field of black glass. Above him, a sky full of dying stars flickered like broken memories. He turned slowly and saw her, Queen Valzari. But this time, she wasn't wearing her crown. She was standing barefoot, her eyes full of fire. "Why do you run from me?" she asked. Riven opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The ground cracked, the stars went dark, and he fell into nothing. He woke up gasping, sweat running down his face. The lights in his room flickered, as if the ship had felt his fear. It was the third dream that week. Every night she was in it, and every morning. She acted like nothing happened, but something was changing. She watched him more now, not with anger, not with cold command, but with hunger. Not for flesh, but for something deeper. She called him to her chamber again. This time, there were no guards. No questions, only silence, and her voice, soft as velvet. "Sit," she said. Riven obeyed, but he was alert. She poured a drink. Not glowing this time, just clear water. She didn't speak right away. She only looked at him, like an artist studying her canvas. "You're different from the others," she finally said. "What others?" Riven asked. Valzari stood and moved to a large mirror. She touched it, and the glass turned to light. Images appeared, humans, 5 of them, all male, all young, all gone. "They were brought here before you," she said. "They didn't survive." Riven stared at the images. "How did they die?" "One by one," she said softly. "Fear, madness, or heartbreak." Riven felt cold. "And you're telling me this because—" Valzari turned to him, her voice suddenly sharp. "Because you haven't broken yet." She stepped closer, eyes glowing faintly. "You fight me, question me, look me in the eye. You feel real." Riven stood too. "I'm not your experiment." "No," she said. "You're something I can't control, and that makes you valuable." Silence stretched between them. Then, she said something that caught him off guard. "Do you feel it too?" He hesitated. "Feel what?" "The connection," she whispered. "The strange bond between us." Riven thought about the dreams, the way the ship reacted to his emotions, the way her voice sometimes echoed inside his thoughts. "I don't know," he said carefully, "but something's not normal here." Valzari nodded slowly. "There is something ancient inside this ship, something older than me, than even my people. And for some reason, it responds to you." They walked together through the corridor. She led him to a dark chamber with stars moving above the ceiling like real sky. In the center was a small floating orb of light. "This is the core of the ship's memory," she said. "Touch it." Riven reached out slowly, his fingers brushing the surface. Images burst into his mind, cities burning, alien temples, a baby crying, a human face screaming in the dark. He pulled back, gasping. "What was that?" "The past," she said. "And the future." Valzari placed her hand on his chest. "You are not just a human," she said. "You are something more, and I need to know what." Riven stepped back, heart pounding. "So what now?" he asked. "Do you cut me open? Pull my mind apart?" Valzari laughed quietly. "No, not yet," she said. "First, we learn each other." From that day, she began to test him, not with pain, but with emotion. One day, she played Earth music and watched his reaction. Another day, she told him a story about her first love, a human from long ago. Sometimes she'd stand close, too close, her voice a whisper behind his ear. Riven felt himself changing. He didn't trust her. Not fully, but he wasn't afraid anymore. Some nights, He even looked forward to their talks. Their strange silence one evening. He asked her something dangerous. "What happens when you get what you want from me?" She looked at him with something like sadness. "Then I will have to decide," she said, "if I let you go or keep you forever." That night, Riven stood at his window. The stars didn't look the same. He knew now he was not just a prisoner. He was part of something powerful, something dangerous, and somewhere deep inside, he feared one thing most: that he might begin to want to stay. Asterisk secrets hidden in the stars. The ship changed when Riven stopped fighting it. Doors that once stayed locked now opened when he walked by. Walls whispered to him in soft, low hums, almost like they were breathing. Even the lights began to pulse gently when he entered a room, as if recognizing him. He wasn't sure when. It happened. Maybe it was after his third dream. Or maybe it was after Queen Valzari touched his hand, just once, and the ship lit up like a sunrise. She noticed it too. "You've awakened something," she said one evening, watching him with quiet fascination. Something buried in the heart of this ship. Riven had grown stronger. Not just in body but in his mind. He wasn't the scared boy from the auction anymore. He was beginning to understand her world, how it worked, what it feared, and most of all, what it hid. One night, the door to the west wing opened without command. Valzari's voice did not stop him this time. He stepped into a hallway he had never seen. The walls were different here, older, darker, covered in dust and symbols. The air was colder, heavy with forgotten things. He followed the path until it led to a circular room. In the center, there was a floating crystal, a dull red, like a sleeping eye. Around it were holograms frozen in time. He waved his hand, and they blinked to life. Humans, not just one, but many, men and women, young and old, wearing clothes from Earth, some old, some modern. Their faces flickered, their voices silent. He recognized fear in their eyes, but also wonder. Suddenly, a voice behind him spoke. "They were here before you." Riven turned sharply. It was the ship's eye, glowing softly like moonlight. A calm, genderless voice. They were studied, questioned, admired, and discarded. "Why?" Riven asked, stepping closer to the images. "They weren't compatible," the AI said. "With what?" "With her," the word struck him. "She used them?" "Not for harm," the AI said. "For hope. She believed each of them could connect with the ship the way her ancestors once did." Riven stared at the images. He felt cold. Did any survive? No. He looked at the glowing red crystal. "What is this?" "The ship's memory core," the AI replied. "It stores more than data. It holds the emotions, thoughts, and final moments of everyone who ever stepped into this room." Riven reached out, and as soon as he touched the edge of the crystal, images poured into his mind. A young woman crying in a metal cell. An old man whispering earth poems into the dark. A boy about his age screaming as stars exploded behind him. Pulled away, falling to his knees, the eye spoke again, softer this time. "She doesn't want to lose another." Riven stood up slowly. "Then why me?" Before the AI could answer, Valzari entered the room. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet rage. "You weren't supposed to be here," she said. "I needed answers," Riven replied. He stepped back. "Are they true?" "All of them?" She didn't lie. "Yes," she said. "I brought them here hoping to find someone like you." "Why?" "Because my people are dying," she said, walking toward the crystal. "The ancient link between us and this ship was broken thousands of years ago. But now it's waking up again, because of me," Riven said quietly. Valzari nodded. Yes, he wanted to be angry, wanted to shout, but he couldn't. Instead, he looked at her and asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" She turned away. "Because I didn't want you to leave." Silence, heavy, like space. He stepped closer. "You still don't trust me, do you?" "I don't trust anyone," she said. "But I'm starting to believe in you." The lights flickered gently. The ship seemed to sigh. Riven placed his hand on the crystal again. And this time, it didn't hurt. Instead, it showed him anew Vision, himself, standing beside Valzari, a planet blooming with green light behind them. When he opened his eyes, she was staring at him. "I think the ship wants us to finish what your ancestors started," he said. She nodded. "But not." Everyone agrees. He followed her out of the memory chamber. The hallway behind them sealed itself, as if guarding secrets too heavy to speak. From that moment on, things changed. They trained together, spoke deeper, trusted more. But outside her chamber, enemies watched. Some of her own people whispered in the dark, "The human must not survive." Other aliens want him dead. The dream was fire, bright, burning, endless fire. Riven stood in the middle of a battlefield, alien ships falling from the sky, explosions lighting up the air like dying stars. And above it all, Valzari's voice echoed through his mind. "They are coming for you." He woke up gasping, his chest tight, his skin damp with sweat. The room was dark, too quiet. No music, no hums from the walls. Just silence, dead silence. Then the lights blinked red. An alarm whispered across the ship like a breath before. A scream, intruder detected. Deck 3. Riven jumped to his feet. Before he could reach the door, it slid open. Valzari stood there, not in her royal gown, but in black armor, glowing at the seams. Her eyes were sharp, her voice cold. "They're not waiting anymore," she said. "They're trying to kill you." Riven didn't ask who they were. He already knew, the Queen's own people. Her inner circle generals, priests, scholars, all afraid of change, afraid of him. They saw him as a threat, a disease, a dirty human breaking into their dying purity. And now they had decided to erase him. Why now? He asked, running behind her through the narrow passage. "Because the ship accepted you," she said. "They believe you're turning it against them." Explosions rocked the hallway. Walls cracked. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Guards rushed past them, some loyal, some not. It was hard to tell friend from enemy. "Where are we going?" Riven shouted. "To the command chamber," Valzari said. "If they take it, they'll control the ship." They reached the main lift, but it was locked. Valzari touched the wall and spoke something in her old language. The wall melted open, revealing a secret tunnel. "This way," she said, pulling him inside. The tunnel was tight and curved upward like a spine as they moved. Riven heard the sound of fighting above them. Screams, blades, gunfire. The rebellion had begun. And it was inside her own ship. At last they reached the core passage, to traitor. Guards stood there, weapons raised, before they could fire. Valzari unleashed a shockwave from her palm, sending them flying. Riven stared. "You could have done that this whole time?" She glanced at him. "I don't like showing off." Inside the command chamber, the ship's AI flickered weakly, red lights everywhere, control panels damaged, smoke curling from the floor. But the core was still active barely. Riven stepped forward, feeling it hum under his skin. "You need to connect with it again," Valzari said. "It may listen to you more than me now." He touched the center panel, and instantly the lights shifted. Red faded to blue, and the ship's systems began to heal. Voice systems came back online, human interface recognized. Priority restored. Suddenly the door behind them burst open. 3 council members stepped in, armed and furious. One of them, the High General, shouted, "He has infected our legacy. This ends now." They raised their weapons, but Riven stepped in front of Valzari. "I didn't ask to be here," he said. "But I'm not your enemy." The general snarled. "You are a mistake." Valzari's voice cut through the smoke. "No, he is." The future. A blast of energy fired straight at Riven. He raised his hand on instinct, and the ship responded. A shield of pure light exploded from the walls, blocking the attack. Everyone froze. Valzari stared in shock. You didn't call for that, did you?" Riven shook his head. "No." The attackers hesitated, but it was too late. The ship had chosen. Security systems activated, forcing the traitors back, locking them in a stasis field. Riven fell to his knees. Exhausted, Valzari rushed to his side. "You saved both of us," she said. "No," Riven whispered. "The ship saved me." That night, the fires were put out. The Loyalists reclaimed the halls. But the Queen knew this was not the end. Only the beginning. She sat beside Riven's bed as he slept, her fingers lightly touching his hair. She whispered, not as a queen, but as something else, something softer. "I won't lose you." But far away, deep inside the ship, another voice whispered back, a voice not hers, not Riven's, something older, something awake. Asterisk, he enters the ancient machine. The ship wasn't flying, it was floating. Not through space, but through memory, silent, slow, and glowing like a ghost, it drifted. Above a dying planet, Zorenth, once the heart of an empire, now cracked like old bone. Below, massive ruins stretched across the surface, towers shattered, temples buried, machines long forgotten. Yet beneath all of it, one thing still remained alive, the core, and it was calling him. Riven stood at the viewing deck, staring at the broken world. He felt the pull in his chest, not like fear, but like gravity. "It's waiting for you," Valzari said behind him. She wore a cloak now, her crown removed. Not a queen today, just someone who had come home to face ghosts. "What happens if I enter it?" Riven asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked toward the docking bay. "Come," she said, "I will show you." They descended together in silence. The air outside was thin and heavy with dust. As they moved through the ruins, Riven noticed statues carved with human faces, Earth-like, but ancient. "These people, they looked like us," he whispered. Valzari nodded. "Your kind didn't evolve by accident." The wind howled softly through the bones of the city. Finally, they reached the entrance to a massive underground gate. It opened on its own, metal groaning like it was waking from a long sleep. Inside, the walls glowed as Riven walked, the same blue light from the ship. Symbols floated in the air. He couldn't read them, but somehow he understood them. Each step deeper made his heart beat faster. Something inside him felt like it was unfolding, remembering. They reached the chamber. Round, endless, a cathedral made of light and memory. In the center was a machine, tall as a tower, humming like it was breathing. "This is the core," Valzari said. "It was built before time was counted. It powered our empire, connected our minds, and gave us long life." Riven stepped closer. "And now it's broken?" "No," she said. "It's just ... incomplete." He turned to her. "You think I can fix it?" "I know you can," she said. "You were chosen long before I ever found you." He didn't understand. "Why me?" Valzari walked up behind him. "Because your kind has something. Mine lost emotion, chaos, the will to survive no matter what. The core needs a soul strong enough to wake it." Riven looked at the machine, then at his own hands. "What if I'm not strong enough?" She placed her hand on his chest. "You are," she whispered. "Because even in a cage, you never gave up." He stepped forward. The machine responded immediately. Panels opened. Light surrounded him, wrapping him in warmth and pressure. Then it began. Memories slammed into his mind, not just his own, but thousands. He saw ancient wars, lovers torn by time, planets burning, babies being born. He saw Valzari as a child, crying as her world crumbled. He saw himself alone, beaten, bought, then chosen. His body trembled. He screamed, but not in pain. In clarity, everything made sense. He was human, but something more. A bridge between what was and what would be. Suddenly, the machine pulsed once, twice, then exploded in color. Energy shot through the temple, up into the sky. On the surface, towers lit up. Vines began to bloom again. Zorenth was breathing. The core was alive. Valzari watched in silence, tears in her eyes. The machine slowly lowered Riven to the ground. His skin glowed faintly, his eyes clearer than ever. He looked at her, but his voice had changed, calmer, deeper. "It's not over," he said. "There's something else still sleeping." "What is it?" she asked. He looked up at the stars. The beginning, far above on her ship. Alarms started to echo again, but they weren't warnings, they were signals. Other ships, unknown signatures, far beyond their charts. Something was coming, and it had felt the core wake up. Together, or burn alone, he stood in the rain. But there were no clouds, no sky, no storm. Only light falling gently from above, like liquid fire. It touched his skin but didn't burn. It whispered, "You are not alone anymore." Riven opened. His eyes, the core had changed him, not into a god, not into a weapon, but into something rare, something real. He walked out of the temple. And the world responded. The ground pulsed beneath his feet. The sky shimmered. Flowers bloomed from dead soil. The entire planet was healing. Valzari stood at the edge of the ruins, watching him, but this time she didn't wear armor or a crown. She looked like someone who had been waiting for this moment across lifetimes. "You came back," she said softly. "I never left," he replied. "But I'm not the same." She stepped closer, studying his face. "No, you're something better." He took her hand, and for the first time, the ship above began to descend on its own. The AI spoke gently through the wind. Two minds bound by spark approved. As the doors opened, a red alert blared once again. Valzari froze. Something's wrong. They rushed to the command center, where holograms showed dozens of incoming signals. Alien ships, unfamiliar, silent, no names, no warnings, only motion. "They're not from this galaxy," the AI whispered. They felt the core awaken. Valzari looked at Riven. "They're coming for its power." He stared at the screen, calm but focused. "We brought life back to this world," he said. "They want to steal it." The Queen turned to her generals. "Prepare all defenses," she ordered. "Warn every loyal world." Riven stood in the center of the room, the core still pulsing. Inside him, he could feel the approaching danger ships moving like shadows across cold stars. He knew what they wanted. They didn't fear him. They hunted him. He looked at Valzari. "If I leave now, they might follow me instead." Her eyes widened. "No, don't even say it. I'm the one they want," he said. "I can draw them away." She shook her head. "You are not a sacrifice." He smiled faintly. "Neither were you when you saved me." The room fell silent. Outside, the stars grew darker. The enemy was closer. Valzari walked up to him and placed her forehead against his. "If you leave me, I'll burn the whole galaxy to bring you back," she whispered. He laughed softly. "Then I'll make sure I don't go far." Suddenly, the ship's walls began to glow gold. The AI announced, "Fusion protocol ready." Dual control. Riven and Valzari, they looked at each other. They didn't need more words. Together, they stepped onto the command bridge. Their hands joined, their minds connected. The ship roared awake, not just flying but alive. It shot into space toward the incoming fleet, faster than thought. Their enemies had come for power, for secrets. But what they found instead was something ancient and unstoppable. A human, reborn by memory, an alien queen, reborn by hope, and a ship, reborn by love and fire. The stars watched. The silence broke, and the war for tomorrow began. But legends don't end with battles. They echo. And somewhere, light years away, a little girl on a quiet moon looks up at the sky and asks, "Do you think the human boy and the alien queen are still out there?" Her mother smiles. "They're not just out there," she says. "They're the reason we're still alive."